Hello everybody, my name is Adam and I make slingshots occasionally in my backyard. I recently decided to make a micarta slingshot with an aluminum template. Making micarta is it's a messy process. It's doable and it can be intimidating, but it's also very fun to do. There are many YouTube videos on how to make micarta. This video is not on how to make micarta, it's more focusing on making the slingshot. Here's the finished micarta. It is red, blue, and black. I started out with the Toddy Mule template that I found on Google online, and I traced it out on the micarta sheet. I used a hacksaw to cut it, but I found that process very slow, so I moved on to a skill saw, which cut it very well. The skill saw even had a rusty old used blade and still did the trick. Here is the aluminum template with one of the scales, and I needed to cut another micarta scale, so I did so, as well as a palm swell, and I drilled the holes. I then moved on to gluing the whole thing together with some brass rods to insert into the holes. I used a 1/4 inch brass rod and one size larger than a 1/4 inch drill bit. I then clamped it all together and let it dry. So I started to cut the pins off with the hacksaw. The clamps themselves, I left some parchment paper in between the clamps so the glue did not stick to the clamps, but on one of them I didn't put the parchment paper underneath enough and it did stick a little bit, but not too drastic. Here it is with just 2 pins left to cut. And as you can see, I used way too much glue, which means there's just a little bit of a mess when sanding. I left the scales on the template a little bit larger just to make sure that they fit on the aluminum template, and I sanded it down with a table sander and a Dremel. The Dremel I used to get into the harder to reach places. The Dremel works very well with the sanding bits. Made sure to wear a dust mask. I then moved on to hand sanding it to 500 grit. I did that 2 times, and then I found it gets really dusty, so if you use WD-40, which I did, there's other things you can use, but it helps to lift a lot of the dust in the pores of the micarta. Homemade micarta does leave lots of a bit of a slippery feel to it, so I took some sandpaper and here's the finished product. I was going to say that homemade micarta does leave a little bit of holes inside of it and stuff, but it turned out pretty good, I think. Thanks for watching the video.